Hello everybody, hello Helsinki. My name is Markus Ramark, I'm from a company called Playco, and I'm going to talk about trends, problems and predictions in mobile games business today. So I've been in the mobile games business since 1999, when it pretty much started in Finland, when Nokia released their first WAP-based phone, 7210, and then we started developing games based on that platform. A lot has happened since that in 15 years, and thank God we are standing here today in a situation where the market is booming like never before. Finland is hotter than never before, and I think that it's great to be Finnish and great to be working in the mobile games industry at this very right moment. So, a company Playco, it's an investment and consulting company working with game developers, publishers, investors, helping companies to do better products, to stand out from the crowd. I think that picture tells it all. You really need to do your thing in the right way, differently, in order to stand out from the crowd, to get people to notice you, your company, your product, to do things in the right way. So that's really important. And I think there is a lot of things happening right now in the industry and new companies coming into business all the time. So to me, it's a really interesting situation, and it's really interesting to work with the new startups and new eager people who want to enter the business and start developing games. So the past year, I'm partly also here because I'm working with Cursor and Playa on several EU-funded projects in Finland, boosting the Finnish mobile games ecosystem and helping the startups. And I think Cursor and Playa are doing an excellent job in supporting the industry and boosting the ecosystem, enabling things so that new companies have easier to enter the market and do business. It's really important, and without that kind of initiatives, there wouldn't be supporting instruments which enable these things right now. And I think Finland is an excellent place to start your business just because of these different instruments that you have available. So I also helped an international mobile games publishing company, Playground Publishing, to establish their operations to Finland during the past year. Then I founded and co-founded 3 and invested in 1 game industry startups. So I'm also involved in that sense in the industry. So, and we are these companies that I'm involved with, we are looking to introduce new services for the game industry during this year and during next year. And I'm also going to touch the base regarding this later on in the presentation, and going to tell you something about predicting the future, which is, to me, it's currently one of the most interesting things that's happening. So regarding industry trends, like I said, during the past year, I've been working a lot with different developers and publishers and investors, and there are certain things that are clearly happening. The shift to free-to-play business has been really painful to most of the companies. So companies who have started working in the traditional premium mobile games business and don't have the free-to-play skills, the painful way has been ahead. And the free-to-play is also still considered as evil to some companies. So some companies seem to think that it's only a method for making money with games, and it has nothing to do with the actual, game business where you develop games which are really good and consumers love to play. So there is a lot of debate in that sense also happening all the time. But I think last week the event that was held in Helsinki, the Games First event, but there we had some good speaks about the games first mentality, so that games always come first. Of course, companies are doing business and they want to do money, but at the end of the day, consumers are deciding which games they play, and it's up to them, to make the decisions. We cannot force them to play any games. They are, at the end of the day, also making the decisions where they are spending their money to. Regarding this, game publishers are still also active in the market, but most of the best teams in free-to-play games business seem to want to self-publish the games. And that also seems to be the trend. So they are getting funding, they are able to raise funding, and they want to self-publish. So for games publishers, the market is also getting harder, because it's not that easy to sign quality games and to get good teams signed. So it's not easy for them either. So, and regarding this, there's also a lot of new type of services entering the market, which are helping to build the ecosystem. Talking about user acquisition services, which you can use to publish your free-to-play game yourself. So there are a lot of companies also entering the market. So there are different business models, so you don't need to share your revenue anymore. You can pay someone to do the user acquisition. Do the same thing that the publisher has done before. Right, so there are new models disrupting the market. And also the health games and educational games are rising, so that seems to be also one trend. For example, Apple just introduced Health and Health Kit, Google introduced Google Fit. So the trackers, wearables, everything, the data, there's a lot of new data that we can utilize in games. So that also helps to build the ecosystem and establish new companies. And there is also a lot of talks about gamification, but there are some problems in that sense, so that there's a lot of talks, but only few companies know how to actually implement those things. And it's the same thing also in health and educational games. So what I would like to see is that we would combine forces from both sides of the table. For example, people who know what the education and health is, and people who know what the games are, so that we combine those forces and we will mix them, and then something truly amazing can come up from those. Because if you are lacking the other side of the table, I don't believe that you can do that amazing stuff. So we need those both views. So that's also my advice to new companies in the market. So if you don't want to do something different, I think these areas are also something that worth looking. From the investment trends, free-to-play mobile is obviously dominating the investment market right now. So that's obvious, because those are making most of the money in the market. So why wouldn't be? And senior teams who have background from very well-known, successful existing companies don't have hard time on raising funding right now, at least in Finland. So if you are Finnish, you have worked for Supercell or Rovio, and you are establishing a new company, and you have a team of like 3 people in there, it's not that hard to get funding. I have seen companies closing funding rounds in weeks, so it's happening still. So, but that's, because there is a lot of money who wants to be invested in the game industry, they are eagerly looking for new sources. And Finland is hot. It's hotter than ever. But still, many investors also see games as a lottery. And that's partly because they don't know. They don't understand. That's always the problem. If you don't understand something, you don't want to do it. You fear. So, I think there are a lot of things still to be done, because there is money that wants to enter the game industry, and we need to build new mechanisms for that money to understand the industry and enter the companies. And there are also several game industry funds bubbling under in Finland. During the past year, I've been talking at least to 5 different funds that are not yet public, that are looking to invest in game companies. Some funds are going to be focusing totally on games, and some partly. but there is new money entering the market also from there. So to me, the investment scene doesn't look that bad. We just need to be able to connect the products, the teams, and the investors. So that's the biggest problem. So, then a couple of words about market problems from game developers' perspective, game publishers' perspective, and investors' perspective. Of course, developer problems, biggest problems, how to design and develop successful mobile games. Duh, that's obvious. The success is different depending on who you ask. Somebody says that success is developing an excellent game that gets excellent reviews and 10,000 users and people love it. And that's enough for someone. Someone thinks that it's a good when you are making 1 million per day. So the beauty is in the eye of the beholder in this one. So it really depends on who you ask this question from. One big problem is also how you test the market and the commercial success for your game already in the development phase. So there has been a lot of talks on that recently, and a lot of companies are lacking that knowledge and ways how to test that. There was a good panel on testing just recently, but that was mainly focusing on game testing. But in there also, there were talks about monetization, how you test the monetization, how you build the monetization, how you build the features so that you support, for example, the free-to-play model. How do you make sure that you have all the current things implemented in the game? When you don't have the exact knowledge, a lot of companies are still learning this business. So those are also big problems right now. There aren't enough people in the game industry to support the need for free-to-play games. That's just a fact. There are over 200 companies in Finland, and if all those companies would self-publish free-to-play games, I don't know where we would get the people. Maybe we would need to hire all the free-to-play experts from US and bring them to Finland to fill those gaps, but that's just the reality. Of course, the one problem is also how you convince the investors and publishers of your game's potential before the soft launch. I will talk about that a bit more later on. And how you spend less time on the road and more time on the development, because that's also required if you are looking for investors or publishers. You need to visit a lot of road shows, have a lot of meetings. But from my perspective, it's also a good thing. You get to pitch your game, you get to meet people, you get feedback. So I think it's very valuable, and all the companies should do that. Then from publisher problems. Publishers don't want lemons. Lemon is a bad product, so nobody wants lemons. So publisher problem is how do they find quality games without going through hundreds of poor games. So I've been working on the publisher side too, and I know this problem. This is a huge problem. So how do you validate the game? How do you determine the potential before you have the soft launch metrics? And how do you find the hidden gems in the market? The ones that are not so obvious, but have a great potential on becoming the next big hits. And then from the investor's side, how do you find quality games, again, without going through hundreds of games and teams? And how do you do a proper DD on a game? There are a lot of investors also focusing on the games business and, who have the knowledge in there, but they don't necessarily have the knowledge on how do they go through the game design and know if it really has a hit potential or not. They mainly invest in teams. And that's why a lot of Finnish game companies have been able to raise significant amounts of funding already before they have anything launched. Because the investors, they have invested in teams. And of course, investors are thinking, how do we predict the future and get rid of the lottery? So, can we predict the future? What do you think? Is it possible? Is it possible to predict the future? Something that has not yet happened. Nobody has the answer. Okay. I think he has. Yes, we can. There is a possibility to predict the future. And this is extremely interesting and something that I just also joined. we found a way to predict the future in games business. So I'm going to talk a bit about predictive analytics. So here is the current sweet spot in the market. So that is the place, when you have your game over there, you get the analytics, you know what your retention is, you know your potential in the business. That's what investors are looking for, that's what publishers are looking for. They are looking for sweet spots from there. They are looking at the soft launch products and they are trying to find the ones that have the potential to be on becoming the next Clash of Clans. That's the thing. That's also the place where the valuation and the risk profile cross. Because after that, when you have a hit product, the valuation starts going up. And the equity-based investments are getting harder. At least you won't get that big of a share of the company. But also it's because the risk is going low. So more decision-making tools are needed before the soft launch in order to make those decisions, in order to find the products that are really good, because there really are no ways right now to do that. So there's a new company and startup in Finland called Game Refinery. So Game Refinery has created a method for predicting your mobile game's success and top crossing position even before the soft launch, already in concept phase if you want. It can be utilized during the whole development process and getting feedback from the market, getting feedback on how your game is going to behave if you would launch it right now. It will test and optimize your game's commercial potential. So, how is this done? Here is an example. We are talking about game power score analysis. So, game power score. Each game is analyzed using over 100 different variables. Each game. There are hundreds of games in the database, so we know where the market is standing right now. We are doing a game power score analysis based on those facts. And then we are also able to tell what the potential US top ranking position would be with that current setup of the game. It has different factors like analytics, monetization, re-engagements, brand, a lot of stuff included in there. So it reveals the areas of improvement during the development process. You can estimate the commercial potential before the launch, which is exactly what is needed today. And you can also adapt to the changing market and optimize the game after the launch. So, regarding power score, how does it look? Here is an example of the game power score for Clash of Clans. So, the maximum power score is 100. So it's pretty obvious that Clash of Clans gets a high power score. It's 91. So it's obvious, it's a top crossing game. So it's divided to different game elements like synergies, in-app purchases, retention elements, mechanics and playability, audio-visual and story. And all these different things, remember, plus 100 different variables in the game give you your game's power score. So it correlates highly with commercial success of games. And over 80% of games with power score of minimum 85 have reached top 100 in the US top crossing chart. The base value depends on the publisher, brand, and the game type. And it's modified based on the analysis of game elements. And each theme consists of multiple elements, which importance is determined by statistical analysis methods. And the weights differ based on the game type that you are having. For example, Clash of Clans and Candy Crush, they have different weights in the games, obviously because they are different senders. And based on this one, we are also able to do scenario analysis with the power score. So we can test different scenarios for your game. So if you would like to implement certain things for the monetization, certain things for the re-engagement, playability, or whatever, we can test those games and we can test how they affect the power score of your game, how they affect on the success of your game and your potential US top ranking position. So it enables you to do fact-based decisions, how to improve the game and reveal the hidden potential in the game. So your game might have all the needed things in place, but you just don't know what to do next in order to take it to the next level. And this will tell you that. So here's an example of scenario analysis for Trial Extreme 3. So it's a game from App Store. The current situation with the current setup, the power score is only 42. And if you remember Clash of Clans, it had 91. So it's pretty low power score. But it's not a bad game. It's a good game. Certain things are in place. It's okay. But there are just some things that would need to be fine-tuned in order to make it commercially successful game. So, for example, Trial Extreme 3, the biggest weaknesses are in progression and re-engagement. What we did for this game, we did an analysis, added certain things to the elements, and then made a scenario where the game would have a power score of 82. I'm not going to go into details here, but we can discuss those privately and we can show you more information about that one. But that's something that we can do for the game. So if the game is not performing, we can show you what are the different ways that can be done for making the game successful, and what are the things that should be implemented in there. And with this, you are also getting the estimated top ranking position in the new scenario. If you look at the current, it's somewhere in 300. And with the scenario 1, it's going up significantly. And there you can see the potential for Trial Extreme 3 and how much it's increased after the changes in the scenario analysis. The gray tells the current situation, so it has 10% possibility to have a ranking below 50. But after the different things have been implemented in it, it has a 68% possibility to have a ranking below 50. So that's something truly amazing. And I think this is a kind of a tool that is missing from the industry right now. Here are some top-crossing findings from the games that we have found doing the analysis. So 95% of top 20 games can be played with one hand. That's a lot. 80% of games in top 20, the gameplay is somehow slowed down. For example, you need to wait until your buildings are completed. In 70% of the games, top 20, you can gain XP and level up. That's a lot. Outside top 200, it's only 19%. And 63% of games have daily rewards. Outside top 200, it's only 15%. So there are a lot of findings like this in our database. So if you want to win a free power score analysis, you can sign up at gamerefinery.com. So there's a site, and you can leave your contact information in there, and you will get more information how the system works. There is also Veli-Pekka from Game Refinery in the audience if you want to hear more about it, so you can also have a discussion with him. All right, thank you. Any questions?
Looks like quite a silent crowd you got there. But yeah, amazing stuff. A lot of statistical analysis, I suppose, in that power score.
Yeah.
Yeah, looks very interesting. Let's give a big hand to Markus.
Thank you.